Holy crap, guys, there is breaking news out there. A bunch of leaked Avengers 4 photographs have surfaced online. I want to break down each and every one of these photographs, talk about the new stuff that we see, what this kind of means for the future of the film, and all sorts of other stuff like that. So this is the Nerdy News Rundown live. And if you didn't catch the stream yesterday, yes, I'm on the road visiting some family. And so instead of doing your regularly scheduled Nerdy News Rundown, I decided we would take this opportunity to do some Nerdy News Rundown live stuff. So if you are entering into the chat, what is up, everybody? How are we doing? You probably see from the title, you see from the headline, there's a lot of Avengers 4 stuff that we have to talk about. Bunch of leaked photographs. So I'm going to wait here just for a little bit for people to get in here. And then, yeah, we are going in. We are going to talk about these leaked photographs. So what is going on, everybody? Have you seen the Avengers 4 leaked stuff? What do you think it means? Start letting me know your thoughts about everything in the comment section below. Yeah, I tweaked the volume up a little bit from yesterday because I did watch that stream later in the day, at least part of it. And yeah, I agree. It should have been a little bit louder. So I'm going to just start getting right into this stuff. We'll go a little slow at first. And guys, the way this is going to work is I'm going to go over each and every photograph that was leaked, talk about what it could mean, talk about different Avengers 4 stuff. We're, of course, going to do Q&A at the end of this video. If you want to ask some Q&A, save it for the end of the video, the end of the stream. And then we are going to also answer every single super chat that comes in. So if you really, really want a question answered, hit me with a super chat and I will answer every single super chat that comes into the stream today. So let's talk about these leaks a little bit. Guys, these were all done on Twitter. It's kind of an interesting thing. They blew up this morning as I was kind of planning what I wanted to do for the day. And some of the stuff we have seen before. So some of these images are very similar to the leaks we got like from that Russian cinema festival thing, which I think is for it's for investors. It's for like wealthy Russian people that want to invest in different things. And so some of the stuff that we saw, like, you know, Cap in his scales, that was something we saw at the Russian investor meeting. Professor Hulk in the suit, the Captain Marvel in her suit, all of that stuff. This is stuff that we have kind of seen. But there is some stuff that we haven't seen, which we'll go over in these images. And also, guys, some stuff that might lead to some plot stuff here. So this is all really fascinating to me. So let's get right into the first one. The first one that I wanted to talk about is Captain America. Okay, so I'm going to put this image up on the screen. This, of course, came in with this barrage of all of these leaked images. We can, of course, see here that they've got these scales, the classic scales on Captain America's suit here. He's obviously clean-shaven. He looks very serious. And like I said, this is something we've seen before. People touched on it many different times, but now we're getting our best look at it yet. And I think the whole idea here is that it's to call back, it's supposed to make a callback to classic Captain America. And you're going to kind of see this theme echoed with, I think, what they do with the new Iron Man armor, which is all like, it's a nostalgia trip. You know what I mean? But, you know, even though we had kind of seen this before, it is still worth mentioning. A lot of people are talking about how, man, hey, Captain America is probably going to kick the bucket in this film. And so it just really makes sense that visually they would do this and have this sort of callback to the Captain America character from the comics, the classic, the legendary Captain America, if you will. And so let us go in here and look at the next one that I want to talk about, and this is the War Machine. This is on the thumbnail. Once again, this image was sort of leaked before. Now, just for the record here, guys, they think that this leak, the War Machine leak, and a lot of this stuff is coming from Hot Toys. It's from a Hot Toys developer or someone that works at Hot Toys that's getting images, basically, that from Marvel, which they can use for reference to make the Hot Toys. But Hot Toys are super accurate, and so there's a lot of stuff that will likely be in the film as well. Now, right here, when it comes to War Machine, it's obviously like a very angular look. It looks very kind of anime to me. Has those kind of classic tropes. I think this suit is probably it's either nano machines or it's like very close. It's very close to the armor that we see Tony use in Infinity War with the bleeding edge and the nanotech and all of that, right? And I think it's gonna be space travel. Like it'll be capable of traveling in space because I think the Avengers are going to be doing a lot of fighting in space and different things like that. And so this War Machine armor just looks absolutely out of control. Like I absolutely love it. Let me know what you think about it in the chat, guys. I'm really interested, but this is a very interesting design and look, especially when you juxtapose this against what we're going to see in a little bit here is the new Iron Man look. The look that they have for Tony Stark is more old school than this, right? But man, I'm excited to see this. War Machine, one of my favorite characters in the MCU. He'll likely be making it out of Avengers Infinity War, and so we'll likely be seeing a lot of different looks of War Machine in the future. And man, it is cool that we are getting this kind of an upgrade for War Machine, okay? So the next one I want to go over here, guys, is the Captain Marvel. Now, this image right here, these are sort of blurred out, the middle one, and there's a little bit of Thanos and stuff there. Now, the only thing that I think is really worth mentioning here is it looks like the Russo brothers have sort of tightened up her suit a bit. And if you look at like the back, it's more form-fitting. It really looks like it's a little bit tighter and more like the classic suit that we're used to in the comic books. This is different, by the way. Not exactly the same as the suit she's going to be wearing at the end of her own movie. Different suits, okay? And so it's really cool that we're getting this kind of upgraded version of the suit and that she will have it sort of, you know, more form-fitting, more of like what you can expect from the comic books, the Russo brothers. I mean, yeah, like you can really expect them to nail this kind of stuff. Personally, just from my own experience, like I prefer the Black Panther, at least in action, that the Russos did in Civil War, even to the Black Panther we get a lot of times in the Black Panther movie. And I'm totally serious. Like, I think it's a couple different things. It's just the way the Russos used like real effects as opposed to like CGI, and just the way they used the effects to really make it feel real and really grounded. And I just love their sensibility when it comes to that. So I'm glad that, you know, you see this kind of change in the Captain Marvel thing. I think it's very, very good, very important, okay? So now we're going to get into some of the stuff that we have not seen before. Okay, and this stuff's very exciting, guys. So, you know, look, we're going to go over all of this. There's a couple things that I want to sort of, you know, go back to. But this right here is the new Ronin image. And obviously this is blurred out a lot here. And the theory right now is, like, from what I've seen on people online, is that the reason a lot of these images are blurred out is because this guy realized that there are ways that the company would be able to track these images, like maybe little numbers here or there, little symbols on the armor and different things. So he would basically get fired if he showed everything. But this right here confirms the Ronin character. And I tell you what, I might even zoom out a bit on this because I want you guys to really see what this looks like here. Because it just, to me, looks so badass. Let me see if I can adjust this. Okay, so you'll see a little bit of like me still in the background there, but look at this thing. I mean, with the hood and the color scheme and the sword, I mean, you just get the total feel for the Ronin character. This is exactly what we knew we would be getting from the comics, but it's what's so interesting is, like, man, I don't know if I've ever been more excited to see like a change for an MCU character here. Everybody's kind of assuming that Clint and his family are affected by the snap, and he goes on this sort of venge-filled kind of rampage of killing, and that's sort of how the Ronin character is born in the MCU. And that sounds amazing to me. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds absolutely perfect. And with this color scheme and everything, man, I'm excited. There's apparently some scenes where we'll be fighting some Yakuza. There are some people that say, hey, man, he might be fighting some, not only Yakuza, but some Skrulls, because some of these actors have prosthetics, and they're the same kind of like Asian actors with prosthetics that we were looking at for the Captain Marvel movie. So there's some speculation there. But overall, even though this image is blurred out, I think it kind of gives us the best look that we have had at the Ronin character and what we're going to be getting from the Ronin character in the movie, which to me is just bad freaking ass. That's awesome. Yeah, so let's get into the next image here, guys. This is Iron Man. Now, we've got a lot to talk about here, and actually, this is one of the ones that we're going to cycle back to and talk more about, like, at the end of the first part of this stream. Now, this right here is being called the Mark 85 or the Mark 86, okay? Now, visually, it harkens back to the Mark III, and really, it looks more like the Mark III from the actual comic books. This is like the first kind of like upgraded version of the Iron Man suit, besides like the Mark I and Mark II, which were very big and bulky. This was the first one, and man, a lot of dope nostalgia here. When you look at some of the really old Iron Man comic books, this is the look you're getting, and it just looks fantastic. Now, the mystery here is this still the nanotech, which it looks to be the nanotech. When you look, especially if you look at the image on the bottom right side of the screen there, where you're seeing the new chest piece and the little blue denotations on the side, despite it having the old school aesthetic, especially on the helmet, it still looks like it's very advanced tech. So it still looks like it is all of that nanotech that's like housed there. There could be some vibranium in it, maybe. There's something that makes this better than the suit we see in Infinity War. But we know also that Iron Man is going to be using the nanotech in Infinity War a little bit as well, because there's some leaked promotional stuff with him in that suit as well. So perhaps this is an upgrade late in the game. Now, what I'm kind of thinking here, and this is kind of outside the universe, is, man, they are really going for nostalgia hardcore when it comes to Captain America and Iron Man. And arguably, I think what we're saying here is that they're probably not going to make it, right? That those two characters will pass and die in this movie. This will be their swan song. Now, with that in mind, you will be watching Iron Man and Cap in the most old school legacy type costumes that they have ever had on the silver screen for their last showing. So it's like Cap wearing like essentially the Mark III, Iron Man wearing essentially the Mark III, Cap essentially wearing the fish scales, old school with the swashbuckler boots, Cap. You know, as close as we'll get to that with the wings on the helmet. You know what I mean? Like that dopeness. And so it's like a modernized version of that, and I'm so pumped about seeing this, especially alongside the new Captain America. All right, so we got a couple more we're going to go through here, and then I want to touch on some plot points that we're getting, and then we'll open it up for Q&A, and we'll just have a discussion about this and just nerd out about this stuff, guys, because it's freaking amazing, okay? So let's talk about some Thanos here. Now, this is a big mystery. Now, we've seen these images before, believe it or not. These were once again at that Russian conference. I think it was even either late last year or early this year, with what I would suppose is film industry money people that like support the money. So executive producers, line producers, people like that. And this image of Thanos in the armor with the sword. Now, this is an interesting thing. Now, initially when we saw this, everybody was like, okay, well, this is just for toys. This is kind of weird. Like, there's no way they'll do this in the MCU, you know? Pardon me. But seeing it here, leaked alongside all this other stuff, kind of makes me question that. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, so if Thanos damaged the gauntlet and permanently damaged himself, and he can no longer put all of the gems into the gauntlet and use them at the same time, that's a big theory out there, is that he will only be able to use one gem at a time now because of the damage of using all of the gems together. There's this thing called the Infinity Sword. Okay, now the Infinity Sword is actually, it's not canon in any comic book currently. It is only in, I believe, the Contest of Champions video game and some other video game, maybe even a Lego video game, where Thanos has this Infinity Sword, which houses some of the gems on it, and it's a sword that can utilize the power of the Infinity Stones. So it's possible, as strange and as weird as it would be, that we would get Thanos putting back on the armor because he can no longer use all of the gems, right? So he has to armor himself. And he utilizes some of the gems in the sword to be able to use them together because he can no longer use them together in the gauntlet. So we're going to talk about that again in a little bit here because I want to talk about plot. But I'm really interested in what all of you guys think about that possibility. So let me know in the comment section, and hopefully when we get to Q&A, this is something we can touch on again. Do you like this idea? Do you think this is possible? Is this main timeline Thanos? Is this something we might see in an alternate universe? Because that is also a possibility. With what they're doing with quantum realm stuff, it's possible that we're in another dimension. So I want to know what you guys think about that as well, okay? So let's go into the last couple images here, and then we'll get into some plot points. This was leaked alongside everything. This is a very good look at Professor Hulk. Tell me, guys, how much that looks like Mark Ruffalo when it comes to the Hulk. I mean, this is crazy, and this is something that Ruffalo was recently speaking about, like a couple of weeks ago, maybe maximum 3 weeks ago. Mark Ruffalo is talking about this and how the technology that basically the technology that they're using in this film was even more mind-blowing than what they used in Infinity War. And I think specifically what he was talking about was the fact that they're going to use that same facial recognition technology that they used on Josh Brolin to create the Thanos performance, that they're going to use that same thing on Ruffalo to use the Hulk performance. Essentially, guys, and this was in the plot leak, but it just looks more and more confirmed. The more we see stuff come out of Avengers 4, Hulk and Banner are going to merge. They're going to become Professor Hulk. They will both be conscious at the same time. Super strong, super smart, holy crap kind of a Hulk situation. I mean, that's going to be amazing to see. But this is just a painting, which is a render of what it will look like when we get Professor Hulk and we have actual Ruffalo performance coming through on the Hulk. I'm very excited for that. So I'm interested what everybody thinks about that as well. Okay, one more image, guys. This one you guys are going to absolutely love. Even though it's not a high-quality image, it's very telling. This is the new Arc reactor. And I saw somebody in the chat just ask me, why is it pixelated? I believe the reason that these images are pixelated is because there are denotations on the image that would prove where it came from. So the person that's leaking this stuff would get instantly fired if they did not pixelate certain aspects of the image. That's what I think's going on here. So that's why it's pixelated. But why is this significant? And it has to do with the plot of Avengers 4. Now, a lot of people think, okay, so I probably should have said this at the top. Massive spoiler warning for Avengers 4. If you don't want to know anything about Avengers 4, get out of there. In fact, hang on. I'm taking this image off. I got to talk to you guys about this. Look at me. Look at me in the eyes, everybody out there. If you do not want any spoilers, you've already kind of had some stuff spoiled when you're watching this stuff with us right now. If you don't want any spoilers for Avengers 4, you get out of here. You get up and you get out of here. And you come back later, maybe after the movie or something. So, look, I know all of you greedy, information-seeking people are still here, but I had to do that. So, here we go. Back to the reactor. Look, recently, the guy that played a young Howard Stark was seen on the set of Avengers 4. There's going to be a scene between Howard Stark and Tony Stark. Now, this corresponds with something the Russo brothers were talking about when they said that there are going to be closed stories in Avengers 4, meaning open-ended things from different parts of the MCU would be put to rest and finalized in this movie. To me, this really includes what the heck was going on with Tony's father and with Tony. Tony is the genius that's said to finish the great work of Howard Stark and all that. In Iron Man 2 and in, I believe, Age of Ultron, they talk a lot about how the arc reactor was this incredible technology that hadn't even been fully utilized yet, even in the designs that Tony had made, and that finishing that design would someday change the world. There's really weird stuff going on there between Howard and Tony, And some people think it could be this Doctor Strange time stone manipulation where he's manipulating time in the past to help his father, to help Tony to beat Thanos, okay? Also, it is possible that this new piece of tech, this new arc reactor, is able to do something with A, the quantum realm, or B, an infinity stone, or C, both. There's something that, look, guys, there is a reason that Doctor Strange knew Tony Stark was so important. He sacrifices the time stone to save the life of Tony Stark. They cannot beat Thanos without Tony Stark. And so this new arc reactor, whatever's going on here with the different shape and the different color and the significance of this thing, it has something to do with how the Avengers will ultimately defeat Thanos in Avengers 4. And so that is the last image. That's what I wanted to talk about. So let's go over a few more things here, and then we'll get into some questions in the chat. So I think what's really interesting... Our crab gets out of here. Gotcha. Okay, so I think it's very interesting. As I said, there's three main things here that I think we can take away from the images as far as plot. Number one, there's going to be a legacy, a major legacy push visually and probably just story-wise for both Captain America and Iron Man. In a lot of ways, these two characters and the friendship that they have it is the backdrop for all of the drama with the Avengers and with the whole MCU. Tony Stark, first movie in the whole universe, becoming the first member of the Avengers Initiative, being this big player in the whole universe. Captain America, the first Avengers, interacting with the Tesseract, and Red Skull in the 1940s, and then, being frozen in time, being this fish out of water, his conflicts with Tony about morality and different things like that. It's a big part of the whole fabric of this thing. Also, their friendship, which was torn apart in the other movies, is now going to be sort of put back together, and we're going to get one last ride, it really feels like, with Cap and Tony together. And so one last ride with Cap and Tony, and I just think that's going to be amazing. And I think you see visually where the directors' heads are at just by these designs. And I think they look awesome. So I'm excited. These might be the first hot toys I end up getting. It really depends. Like Avengers 4 is this huge ending chapter. As a big nerd, as a fan of this stuff, this is a huge moment for us. This is a big, big deal. And I know a lot of you agree and know about that. So absolute crazy. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the sword. What's up, everybody? I see you in there. Hey, hey, hey. The next thing I want to talk about is the sword. Okay, so is it possible that we're getting the Infinity War sword or the Infinity Sword in Avengers 4? I think it is. And I don't know exactly how to feel about it because it feels very almost like fan fiction-y, kind of out of control. But we really do not know about that damage that the Gauntlet received and about the damage that Thanos received. And so it's very possible that in order to level the playing field a bit, the energy expended from the snap has created this situation where Thanos needs not only the armor to feel protected, but that sword to utilize the gems. Now, also, what would be interesting is if the Avengers want to take the gems from the past and they start removing the gems from Thanos, because that's something that's going on. Like, we need to figure out whether this is quantum, multiversal, universe-breaking paradoxes, or are we time traveling? And if it's time traveling, there's certain rules that happen with time travel. Maybe if they start to assemble the gems, they take the gems off the gauntlet. And if that is the case, perhaps you could see a thing where Thanos only has a few gems. He's using the sword with a few gems, and then we see some of the Avengers using gems, and there's a big fight in that regard. That would be very interesting. So overall, I like the idea of the sword. I don't know if it will be utilized with the gems or not. You know what I mean? Like, it might just be a weapon that he uses, but I kind of am leaning towards seeing it in the film. You know what I mean? If this is just something for toys or whatever, I might be a little bit bummed, because that is kind of a cool That's a cool freaking design. And you know, the way Tony had that sword that he created out of the nanotech and was fighting, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to see that and Thanos with the sword and maybe even clashing with Stormbreaker or something. Like, that would be some pretty hype stuff, okay? And finally, the last thing I want to go into before we go into Q&A here is the new reactor. There's something to this reactor, guys. There's something to the reactor. I think there's going to be a through line that is set up in these other films, and it could just be like a time travel thing, or it could be legitimately that Tony is able to design a new type of arc reactor that does something on the quantum level or gives him access to this crazy power or allows them to use gems or something. So I really do believe that that image of the new reactor is incredibly significant. And it's even kind of like foreshadowed in the first movie where she's, you know, Pepper's like pointing at it and different things. And so I think that's a big significant deal. And I think it's going to be pretty hype for the movie itself, okay? So that's some of the images, guys. That's pretty much the first part of the video. All I really wanted to do was go over these images, talk about what they mean and different things like that. And now let's open it up to some Q&A and get some questions going on for everybody. Please hit me with some questions, and we will have some fun here. Okay. So Trev Fishbin says, "What about Iron Man having Uru armor?" Okay, so I think that's possible. It's definitely possible. I would love the idea if they combine sort of like the Fear Itself comic book version, where, you know, maybe I think it's Gendry, right? The elf, or the dwarf rather, and some of the other dwarfs. Wouldn't it be super cool if they were working together and created some kind of, you know, new tech with combining Iron Man stuff and the Uru? That would be super cool. Ultimately, I think it's possible, and maybe that's what we're looking at with the Mark 85 and the Mark 86, or even what if they take vibranium to the Starforge, you know what I mean, and they make some vibranium Uru kind of combo metal, and maybe that's even what's in Cap's stuff. So it's possible. Yova asks, do you think Loki is alive? I do, actually. You know, here's what's funny. I was so against that theory when I heard about the Loki theory and the idea that, exactly, that theory that he's disguised as Hulk. I don't think he's disguised as Hulk. I just don't think so. But when you watch that scene, there's something to it. There is something going on in that scene. And I don't know what it is. It could potentially be magic, deep level magic, going to hell and coming back, the soul world and coming back. Maybe Loki has something to do with getting them out of the soul world, or from the soul world, allowing them to communicate. I don't know, but I do think he's back. And even if he's not back, we'll get a different version of him, just because I think the Asgardians will all sort of be reborn. And look, we're getting that Loki television show. We're getting the Loki television show on the Disney streaming service. That's going to be super hype. And I know Tom Holland has signed up to do it. So Daniel Sayers asks, what do you think the Vision situation is? Interesting question about the Vision thing. I don't know. I tend to believe he's just dead. But what I think what you're referring to, is it possible that he has a soul and he's in the Soul Stone, that he's somehow alive within the stone, maybe? Because there was something that happened in the comic book with Adam Warlock where he was able to turn the Soul Stone kind of against the other stones, and it prevented Thanos from being able to use all the stones together. So it's possible that that's what you're referring to. That could be really cool. Otherwise, I think he's just going to sort of be rebuilt, or when they undo the snap, it'll turn time back. All right, Justin, my main man over there. Guys, you should all go check out, if you're into gaming, go check out the Den of Nerds Gaming. It's our gaming channel for the Den of Nerds. Justin's doing a great job. He has a lot of fake Grand Order content on there. We're going to be doing some Dragon Ball Legends content, some Super Smash Bros. Content. A lot more gaming stuff is coming. So shout out to Justin. Think we'll get a moment where all the snapped Avengers come back to help finish Thanos? I do, Justin. I think they're coming back. It could be a thing. So here's the real question is, are the main cast Avengers going to beat Thanos and then the snap is undone, or are they going to undo the snap and then everybody together beats Thanos? And I actually don't know if that's going to happen, but I think either way, when they'll have to maybe do a redo of the battle at Wakanda, with all of those animals, there's space cows, as James Rosili calls them. But yeah, that it's possible that we will see either one of those scenarios. But I think really, if I'm thinking of it from a story perspective, they want probably the main Avengers to get that win. They want the main Avengers. They want the cast that you've known for 10 years to get that win. There was an interview on Collider recently with Marcus and McFeely, the guys that wrote it, and they kind of speak to that. Now, they were asked about Captain Marvel, whether Captain Marvel will like really be a big part of finishing off Thanos. And they kind of were like, no, you really want the people that you've been rooting for a long time to get that W. It's important, especially if they die, right? So that's what I think we're going to get. If Loki is alive, where's the real Bruce Banner? Well, I actually don't believe that theory that he was somehow in the Hulk, unless he's just spiritually inside the Hulk, and that way it still is the Hulk. Do you know what I mean? Like he could be hopping a ride there, but yeah. Okay, this is a good question by Archive. He asks about if we'll see Adam Warlock in Avengers 4. And I know this is something that fans bring up a lot. They're like, will we see him in Avengers 4? You know, him, literally. Adam Warlock is a very important player in that film. And I just don't think so, man. I mean, they barely introduced that character. He's in a post-credit scene of Guardians 2. We might not ever get a Guardians 3 now. I do think they'll explore the character more. But no, like I said, it's the same thing with the Captain Marvel question. They're not just going to give the win or give a big screen presence or story presence to a character that we're not familiar with. Couple good questions here. Let's see here. Treb says, think we get Thanos, Nebula versus cosmic beings. It's possible. There's a rumor that there's going to be a lot of cosmic entities in the film. I think, like, the way I see it kind of going down is that Doctor Strange is going to convince Eternity to fight Thanos. Thanos will beat him. He'll become Eternity. He'll leave his body behind, and we will get sort of a similar ending where Nebula takes the gauntlet. Litachia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. That's a hard one for me. Do you know if they are going to feature the Contest of Champions somewhere? It's very possible. You know what's really cool, man? With especially, this is one of the reasons I'm so pumped about the streaming shows. They could do a Contest of Champions episode on one of those shows and bring Jeff Goldblum back, and we're familiar with him, and he's doing his thing, being Jeff Goldblum, and having the characters, you know what I mean, fight each other. That would be amazing. So I definitely think there's room for that. I don't know if we'll get it in a movie per se, but part of me really hopes, actually, this is something I think about a lot, is that post Infinity War Part 2, like in Phase 4, I hope we get to do more events, more event films like Civil War, but like in a single film like they did. So instead of having this massive build up to it, do a Contest of Champions movies, do a Secret Wars movie, you know, where it's like, oh shit, this big bombastic story is playing out, but it's a single movie. That I think we've gotten to that point where we can do that. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And if you're watching this, if you're just tuning in, guys, all of the images we went over at the beginning of the video, you'll have to catch this on the replay and go over all of those images. And then we'll go from there. Okay, this is a good question. I actually want to address this. Green Beans, Beans Green. Interesting name, by the way, bro. Watch Black Panther today on Netflix. Probably the most overrated Marvel movie. Do you agree? So, I would honestly say, and I'll tell you guys completely honestly, when I first saw Black Panther, I was very inclined to agree with Green Beans. I was like, man, this movie is overhyped. They miss tonally, to me. Ryan Coogler misses in a couple key scenes that really hurt the movie and take it from like visionary craziness to like kind of mundane everyday kind of filmmaking. So there's a couple scenes that he just tonally misses, in my opinion. But when I watched the movie again on Netflix, I actually had the opposite experience of you, Green Beans. I actually was more taken by the film that time when I watched it at home than I was when I watched it in theaters. I actually think the movie is very good. Maybe better than we give it credit for in a lot of ways, because it does do a lot of like everyday tropes. And like I said, I think it tonally misses a little bit here and there. But man, the plot of the movie's tight. The characters are very interesting. The world is intense and has its own history and fabric. There's a lot of awesome diegetic things about the world. I love the Shuri character. I love T'Challa, the thing with the lady that he loves, the Dora Milaje. I think one of the main problems in the movie is the crazy CGI fighting at the end. Too much, and not really that cool. And I also think it was a mistake to kill off Claw. Andy Serkis, man, he's got bad luck with he gives amazing performances and they just kill off these characters. So there was a few misses in there, but I cannot sit there and say that I think it's the most overrated Marvel movie. I do not think it's overrated. Well, it is overrated, but it's not the most overrated in the universe. But you know what's interesting? What is the most overrated movie? I don't know. That's an interesting question, right? Like, what is an overrated MCU movie? Man, I really don't know. You know what's funny? Like, I'm inclined to think, like, what was like a weaker one that people really, really like is basically what the question is, right? Hmm. See, everybody kind of agrees that Thor 2 was sort of a miss. A lot of people don't like Iron Man 3. A lot of people don't like Iron Man 2. Um, all the main Phase 1 films are absolutely incredible in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting. You know what's funny? I would say Doctor Strange probably is my answer, and I like the Doctor Strange. Here's the thing: I love the Doctor Strange movie, but I love that character. Um, but Doctor Strange was hailed as like this thing, and visually it's amazing, but like it plays it so safe story wise. Like story wise, if you're a big Doctor Strange fan and you read a ton of comic books, like they played that super safe, especially when it comes to demonic stuff. Like especially when Scott Derrickson was announced, I was really really hoping, pushing it more, having more of a crazy like demon type stuff, possession, different things like that. So that's probably the one for me. Yeah. Now I can talk about the most underrated ones too. I think Age of Ultron is incredibly underrated. When we first saw that, like that's a dark movie. Like Age of Ultron is dark. Like the way it starts, the doom and gloom during the whole thing, Tony's struggle. It's a dark film. But that movie's dope. That movie is dope. And I think that it gets a lot of shit. And even this is something that even Joss Whedon came out and said, like in the more recent interviews and stuff. He's like, when I look back on it, I was a little too hard on myself. Age of Ultron was a good flick, and it's like, hell yeah, that's a damn good movie. Yeah, the Thor scene is just probably poorly placed, and I think that dude, that kind of falls on Feige and Joss, I think, in a little bit, because Joss was sort of like pissed about it, but he didn't like think like neither one of them were able to think about a more organic way to introduce that scene, which was a mistake. Probably go for like 20 more minutes, guys. Hit me up with some questions. We should be back to normal very soon, but we are going to be doing a lot more live streams here on the channel. I know Justin and I were going to do a live stream today. later today. I don't know if we still will or not, but in general, we're going to be doing a lot more live streams on the channel. So if you're new around here, subscribe. Okay, a question about bringing the X-Men into the Avengers movies or doing their own new series. I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So they will do the X-Men. I think they're going to introduce mutants almost right away. The mutant phenomenon will be something that's playing out in a lot of these movies. It'll be something they talk about. It'll be sort of a big deal. They'll be like, oh shit, the mutant phenomenon. It's this big thing, right? And that'll sort of be framed in the MCU. But as far as the X-Men themselves, they're going to do their own series of films, and I think that it'll start a couple of years after this official deal is done. And it'll be like just a total reboot of X-Men, a total MCU version of the X-Men, and they will eventually come to a head with the Avengers. I think AVX is an obvious choice. It's an obvious big event film that I think they want to work towards. Having the Avengers, having the X-Men established is very, very important to that. So that's kind of the way I think they'll do it. Okay, so Stefan asks about the theory that Odin is the one who first tried to collect the Infinity Stones. Maybe, but I believe there's something in the canon that explains that Odin actually did not utilize all the stones together. So he either knew about it and decided it was not good, or he like knew that power would do something that he was not prepared to deal with. So there's a theory out there, and I forget where it comes from, but it's basically saying that like, nah, even Odin, because remember, Ebony Maw says no being before you has ever had all of the stones. You know what I mean? Like not one, but two stones. So. Reverse House of M with Scarlet Witch? Maybe. Could be. But I do think that Odin is a much bigger role. He had a much bigger role in the galaxy and the universe than we are aware of just from the films. No, I've never heard of the seventh Infinity Stone. Where's that from? Is that from a comic? Because I've never heard of it. Ego? Ego, the living planet Infinity Stone? Oh, this all had to do with the Nemesis. I don't know if they would do that. That seems yeah, I don't know if that, I mean, that could be cool, but I don't know if that's the way they're going to go with it. That would be pretty nuts. Yeah, that was a crossover actually between um like I think another company, right? The Ultra Force. Ooh, green beans. We went over this a little bit yesterday in the stream. Do you think the Venom movie will connect to the Spider-Man Homecoming, or are they going to wait and see how it does? Interesting question. Would love that connective tissue. If anything, both companies will leave it open, but there will not be a through line. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I do think Marvel wants to see how this movie does. By the way, Venom comes out this next week. I'm super pumped about it. Can't wait to see it, but I am a little worried. A little worried about the Venom movie, guys. Do you agree with the theory that the Power Stone is Galactus? I've heard of this theory, and no, I do not agree with it. I think they want to do Galactus proper. That's how you do it, and they'll bring him in. Galactus is too important to be kind of wishy washy and done in a weird way. Why hold back on Carnage? So that you'll see Venom too, Trev. They're holding back the goods, man. You know, like Sony's trying to act like a drug dealer, man. You know you want that Carnage. You know you want that Carnage. Come on back next time for that Carnage, baby. That's why they do it. Ooh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Stefan says, what about the theory that Odin hid the Soul Stone on Vormir and put the price for order to take it? Put the price on it, I guess. Yeah, that could be very possible. Yeah, Carnage would be a big way to go. Plus, I think this, like, let's just say Marvel, because the one thing you keep hearing kind of Tom Hardy say, because people keep asking him in interviews, you know, and they're kind of jesting a little bit, but they're trying to get a scoop. Is they're like, what about Venom and the Avengers and all this stuff, right? And basically, Tom Hardy keeps saying the same thing. He's like, well, if they allow it, we would love it. But if they don't, we're very willing to go our own way. That's what he keeps saying. And so I think if Marvel decides, now we don't want anything to do with the Venom universe, then maybe we do Carnage next, and it is rated R. You know what I mean? Or like a hard PG-13 or something. I think that might be the strategy. Yup. Really depends on Venom, man. You know, we really have to wait and see on Venom. I'm really hopeful, but I got a bad feeling. Anybody got any questions about these leaked images that we had? Pretty dope stuff. Avengers 4 is going to be such an event. Like, I am very excited. We're gonna do some streams leading up to it and some really cool content leading up to it. This is just the pinnacle of hype for Marvel fans and for comic book fans. This is such a special thing, you know? What, the images? I don't know if I want to go through all the images again. Yeah, that's a good question. The question is about Disney handling Deadpool and Wolverine and them being more adult than kid friendly. They have to figure that out. That's something they definitely need to figure out. How do we do this? I think in general you might want to brand the X-Men films as being a little bit darker, a little bit more serious. If you do that right off the bat with the MCU stuff, it'll make a lot of sense, and that'll be really really cool. So I do think they'll probably try to do a different, like a different branding, more hardcore stuff with the X-Men because they kind of need that. What do you think oh, that's an interesting question. Could Groot grow back from Stormbreaker? Never even thought of that, but I guess technically he could. You could take a splinter of him from there and have him regrow back. That'd be kind of wild. That's worth a whole theory video. That could be cool. Maybe they'll just wish him back though, you know? Get that gauntlet, do some cool things with it. Man, these images, man. Like you'll have to watch again on the replay if you've missed the images. We go over them for the first like 25 minutes. Like holy crap, guys. Very cool stuff when it comes to those images in Avengers 4. Yeah, Trev, I do think so. I do think Iron Man will stay in the MCU as an AI Force Ghost kind of thing. Yeah, that's the way I think they should do it. He'll replace like Jarvis and Friday, be the AI talking to the Avengers and different things like that, so that they could still have Robert Downey Jr. in there, his quips, different things like that. He just won't be doing screen time, which would ultimately be really good. A good way to save money, have him in the films, different things like that. So, yeah, I would love that. That is, I think, how we should do it. Probably answer just a couple more questions here, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this stream. We should be back to normal very soon. Doing a ton of new stuff at the Den. I'm trying to figure out what the future of the content's going to look like, how we're making these changes, different things like that. So, yeah, just stay tuned. Got some cool stuff on the way. Tom Hardy has 3-year movie contract. Is it safe to assume that one is a Venom riot? Yeah. So when it comes to that contract, M. Stonecheck, yes. The contract is based on doing multiple Venom movies. That does not mean they will do multiple Venom movies, but it does mean they can option to do them with Tom Hardy, and he would have to come back and play them. So, like they keep saying with this is like it's really in the hands of fans. So it's going to be how much money the movie makes, how is it received by fans. That's really what makes the difference in these types of situations. I definitely do think Cap will say Avengers Assemble. I think it's going to be one of the last things he says. Sadly. Tony and Pepper's baby could be a thing, man. Could be a real thing. Could be a character we get in the MCU later. Yeah, could be really cool. Really? Spider-Man was the first one to say it in the comics. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Are any of you guys reading the current Avengers book? The new one with all the ancient Avengers and Cap and Tony are like getting back into the game? I kind of like it. I think just the first issue came out. JJ Swag, the 100 sub dude. Can I give you a shout out? Yeah, that's your shout out. Congratulations. And where did Thanos go at the end of Infinity War? Where did Thanos go at the end of Infinity War? I don't know. It kind of seems like he was back on Titan, but he could have been on like any kind of planet. But remember, he says like the planet now has, or no, I think he's on Gamora's planet. He goes back to the Gamora's planet. You know what I mean? Because he says it's like a paradise and stuff now, and I think that's where he's at. So that's my guess. Gonna go for like 5 or 6 more minutes, guys. Get some last minute questions in here. We'll go over some stuff, and then I will see you guys tomorrow, probably for the regular news show. Man, watch this on the replay if you didn't see the images when it goes up. The images are dope, guys. These images were very dope. I was very excited to talk to you guys about them. Interesting question, Stefan. Do I think that Captain America is worthy of Mjolnir? I do. I definitely do. I think they're even going to have that play out in the next movie. I really do. I think that before Cap dies, he will pick up Mjolnir and fight against Thanos or somebody. Oh, more Raylo videos are on the way. I don't even know what video I'm going to do for Star Wars Sunday this week, but it could be a Raylo video. How would I want to see Cap die or retire? I mean, he's got to be fighting against impossible odds. He has to be expending energy that's unbelievable. He has to be giving people like time, saving them time, doing something that really matters, even though he knows it'll sacrifice himself. Essentially a version of when he jumps on that grenade. When he jumps on that grenade in the first Captain America movie, they have to replicate that, but this time he dies. I think Mjolnir is going to be brought back because of something they do at the quantum realm. There's a big rumor that the stuff they do in the quantum realm is going to reset timelines and create alternate versions of things, and that there will be a Mjolnir in Avengers 4 as well as Stormbreaker. Why didn't Doctor Strange try to trap Thanos with the Time Stone and bargain instead of giving Tony away? It all has to do, powerful primate. It all has to do with the only scenario in which they win. So if essentially Doctor Strange realized that if he did that, Thanos would figure out a way out of it, either using the reality or space or something. He would figure out a way out of it. So I'm sure that crossed his mind, and that was one of the potential 14 million outcomes, which it did not work. Do I think Tony will make Bruce Professor Hulk? No, I think that's going to just be between Hulk and Banner. They're going to have to figure that out together. And when they do, that is how Professor Hulk comes to be. I do not think it's going to be Tony doing that. Yes, Yova, good question. I do think Doctor Strange put a spell or a curse of some kind on the Time Stone when he gave it to the glove. I do believe that. So I think there was something going on there. Doctor Strange put a spell on the stone or something like that. What's up, Heather? Yeah, you might like the first part of the video. We went over all of the videos, all of the different, or rather, all of the images that were leaked for Avengers 4 this morning. A lot of good stuff on there, so make sure you check out the replay. But yeah, what's up, Heather? I'm doing live streams this week because I'm out of town, and I was not in my regular studio, so I can't do the normal, news videos. Yep. There's a lot of evidence for it, Yova, and there's foreshadowing too with what he does with Ebony Maw and the spell with the what am I saying? The Eye of Agamotto Time Stone. Good question, Archive. Do you think Drax will have a major role in Avengers 4? I don't know. Unlikely now, I guess, huh? Yeah, they might be giving him the old axe, man. I don't know. It would be funny if they just killed him off, but I don't know if that's possible. Okay, these are the last two questions I'll go over here, and then we'll call it. One, do you think Drax will remain disappeared? Maybe. That's hilarious. Is there any way we could ever see Marvel vs. DC movie? Probably not. Probably not, mostly because they're not on the same level. Like, Marvel is just, at this point, Marvel has way more bargaining power, and DC's got to get their crap together before anything like that would ever make sense. So, no. And then this last question here by Yova. Will Guardians of the Galaxy 3 still be green lit? I don't know. My gut is telling me no. I don't think so. Ooh, that's a good question, Heather. Maybe I'll answer that too. But no, I do not think that we're going to get Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think they've streamlined the Eternals movie. I think the Eternals movie is going to take place of that, and it'll do that. Yeah, I mean that's true, Heather. They technically, so that's an interesting point. They did. Sean Gunn said they were going to use James Gunn's script, so maybe that means they'll still do it. But I think they're going to at least put it on the back burner. Give it some time. No Inhumans movie. They're not going to do that. They're not doing that. Ooh, if Daisy Ridley or Adam Driver could be in the MCU, who would you want them to play? I feel like Adam could maybe even do a good Doctor Doom. That would be wicked cool. I'd like to see that. As far as Daisy, let's see here. I'd almost prefer her as Captain Marvel, really. But I don't know. She could do a good Rogue, maybe. Or even Kitty Pryde, maybe. Oh, yeah. The Patton Oswalt Marvel filibuster is freaking amazing. That's an amazing piece of content from Parks and Rec. Yeah, she'd be a good Kitty Pryde for sure. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for the live stream. Thank you so much. If you're just tuning in, go check out the replay. Go check out the replay. We talked about the new images that were leaked for Avengers 4. Tons of good stuff, cool theories, cool speculation for the plot of Avengers 4. A lot of cool stuff, man. This was a big deal with Avengers 4. So go check out the replay when it goes up so you can get all that detail. We will definitely be doing more live streams very soon. A lot of new stuff happening on the channel. A lot of cool stuff with cool people. Tons of awesome stuff. So thank you guys so much. Love all of your beautiful and nerdy faces. It is so cool to get on here and talk with you guys about nerdy things. So thank you for that. And yeah, as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.